How's it going, everybody? I'm the BTC Reaper. My goal in this channel is to teach you how to reap the rewards of trading with the prices going up or down. DOJ wants SBF's proposed expert witnesses barred from testifying. So authorities claim that 7 of the experts do not adhere to the minimum criminal proceeding laws, and opinions lack a reliable methodology. The DOJ added that their testimonies could be unfairly prejudicial and confusing to the jury, so they're saying because they're close to SBF, they may kind of steer the jury away and try and steer the case away. Joseph Pimbley, principal at Maxwell Counseling, is being rejected by the DOJ on grounds that his expertise regarding FTX's code is unnecessary and might duplicate testimony. The government cites 2 of their witnesses, former CTO Nishad Shi and Director of Engineering Gary Wang, as offering the necessary competency. According to the filings, the DOJ has requested that if several of the witnesses are not excluded from the testimony, a two-part hearing will be conducted where both sides will question these people. What's a Bitcoin Drivechain and why are devs at odds over its proposal? Drivechains proposed by Paul Stork as BIP300 and BIP301 would create native sidechain mechanism for Bitcoin, allowing BTC to be trustlessly bridged to separate chains. Some say that sidechains are good, some say they're not. The sidechains are secured through the blind merge mining, which would allow Bitcoin's existing miners to efficiently secure other blockchains without needing to run a sidechain software. So they can just do what they do and the sidechains would run. The more I read about BIP300, the more it seems like a great way to introduce enormous amounts of grift, complexity, risk, and shitcoin-esque functionality into the Bitcoin codebase, tweeted a popular Bitcoin hodlnaut on Sunday. However, others are saying that this is a way to add functionality, so you have the 2 takes. I think that it could very possibly be something that could add shitcoin-esque functionality, because look at how the ordinals are. Those are mostly memes. Coinbase stock soars 15% following Grayscale's Bitcoin ETF win against the SEC. A federal court said Tuesday that the US SEC lacked a coherent explanation for denying Grayscale's application to convert its Bitcoin trust into a spot Bitcoin ETF. The ruling, which investors have interpreted as a win for the cryptocurrency industry, means that the Bitcoin ETF could soon be available on Wall Street. Coinbase has been selected by most applicants as wanting to launch a Bitcoin ETF and have them monitor the information. So that is a big win for Coinbase as well, because if ETFs start launching, Coinbase is going to be necessary. So we have pumped today. Real quick, if you're wondering how that was possible, when we got our breakout, we had a reversal arrow, our VWAP ran up, and our money flow maintained bullish momentum. So our VWAP made that bullish cross, we got that green down momentum, stochastic was running up, RSI was running up, that was right around here, and we got a reversal arrow, so that all indicated that the previous trend could be coming to an end, and we shot right up. But we'll get into that a little more as we go over things. Over on our total, we are trying to bounce up. We are kind of coming to this resistance, so we are still respecting this trend. So that does mean we could still have a breakdown. So don't think we're out of the woods quite yet until we invalidate this pattern and get sucked beyond this golden pocket. The RSI is heading up, stochastic's pushing up, the VWAP is running up. The money flow is struggling here though. So even though we're running bullish, the money flow is maintaining bearish trend. So if the money flow weakens on these lower time frames, 4 hours a little iffy. If it weakens here, like rolls over on the 2 hour and the 1 hour, then we could get a rejection. So just keep that in mind for our altcoins. Over on our Bitcoin dominance, we did wick up to fill this gap, but we are still respecting the bear flag. So this could be our retest, and we could see a rejection from it if we don't come back in and sustain those levels. Stochastic is running up, our RSI wants to push up, that money flow is making a bit of a rebound, and that momentum's pushing up pretty strong. So we do look pretty decent. Again, you'll want to watch lower time frames to make sure that maintains. Over on our Bitcoin futures, we pushed, filled our gap, So it is very likely we could come back down and get a rejection and fill this bottom gap here. However, it's just as likely that we could come up and fill the higher gap too, so manage your risk properly. Our RSI is kind of curling off, stochastic's running up, our VWAP's trying to make a push here, the money flow is trying to push toward that neutral, and the momentum's coming up. So if the VWAP can sustain these levels and the RSI can kind of curl back up and push higher, we may be able to push up and test those higher trends. However, if we get a rejection here and the money flow starts to go south, then it is very likely we break this support and see those lower price targets. Remember, this is a lot of hype because it's a suspected win that the ETFs will get approval, not an actual ETF approval. Our RSI is pushing up, as stochastic is running up, our VWAP is pushing up, our money flow is making a bullish trend, our momentum is coming up. If you're not familiar with a bullish trend, that's higher lows with higher highs. So we are coming up toward this golden pocket. We came up to right around where we should have broken down to from our previous pattern. So we are kind of rejecting that support resistance area. You can see we have previous candles from previous areas, so it does still have supports and resistances. We just don't have them mapped. Now we're on the 4 hour here. We do have a little bit of an interesting combo here with the reversal and the green dot. So this could end up being a drop down. Usually when I see these, they don't play out too well. Like this one wound up bringing us down eventually. But that's not always necessarily the case. Our RSI is rolling over. Our stochastic does want to make a bullish run up. It doesn't have much more room to push up. And we do have a bit of a bearish divergence as price is going up and our stochastic is coming down. So keep that in mind. The momentum, we are pushing up pretty decently though, and the VWAP is starting to round off and head down. So keep an eye on that VWAP. If it loses strength, that momentum's going to follow suit. The money flow is starting to get a bit of a rejection from that neutral, so even though we got this bullish run, it may have been short-lived. Over on the 2 hour, stochastic's getting a bearish cross, our RSI is starting to taper off, we're getting a double red dot on our momentum, and that's curling away. Our VWAP and our money flow are both testing that neutral right now. If we break through over the next few candles and break this support on our golden pocket, it's very likely we'll see those lower targets. However, if we come down, make a bounce, we could possibly see the higher targets if we come back into our previous pattern. If you're not familiar, that bigger previous pattern was an ascending channel. So over on the 1 hour, zoom way back in now that I zoomed way out. We are kind of setting up a descending triangle here, so that's not looking too good. Our stochastic's starting to taper off though, so it may be able to rebound here. If it can, that would give our RSI some strength to help it prevent sliding down like it's trying to do. And momentum is overall rounding off and pushing down, and the money flow is starting to come out. So overall, we have a little bit more bearish sentiment looking than we have any bullish, but we are in this golden pocket, so keep that in mind because it's a manipulation zone. Our VWAP is in the bearish territory, but it's kind of tapering off. So if our VWAP manages to sustain here, we could see a bounce and get another bullish leg up, which at that point, that would be what would try to push us into our pattern. Over on graph, we invalidated this triangle. So I'm going to delete this. So I went through and deleted all the invalidated patterns, but we didn't. The total was the other one. We did warn of like that double bottom on Bitcoin here the other day. So that is what wound up playing out. Our stochastic is pushing up. Our RSI is pushing up. Real quick, hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe, and join us in that Discord link down below. We need a few more people to join because we're going to do some giveaways, and I think you want to be included. It's a limited join approval, so if you join and if you click it and there's no more spots, I'm sorry, but it's a limited application. You're going to get some free stuff just for being in the Discord and being around. Our VWAP is trying to push up, that money flow wants to head toward that neutral and break bullish, and that the momentum is trying to come up, if I could speak there. So overall, we are trying to get a little bit of a lift off, but we are coming into resistance, so keep that in mind. Over on the 4 hour, you can see more of those candle rejections. We have a few back here. That was a previous trend. So if we can break through, we may trend between these zones where we had this quick breakdown. Our 4 hour, we are starting to get a little bit of a red candle after getting a green dot. So that green dot's supposed to signal a bullish move, but we already had a pretty strong bullish move, so the green dot might have been a little late. As stochastic's running up, our RSI is starting to taper off though, so if the stochastic starts to push down, the RSI is likely going to lose strength. The VWAP is starting to head out, and our momentum is looking a little dicey. It did run up pretty strong, but it's starting to already curl out as our VWAP's losing strength. The money flow is in the bearish territory. It was bullish for a little while, but it didn't manage to sustain that bullish strength. If you look over at the 2 hour, we got a little flick into the bullish territory, and we're getting rejected pretty quickly. Our stochastic has a bearish divergence here too, and it's getting a bearish cross that could drop down. Our RSI is curling off with a red dot. Our momentum's starting to come out. That VWAP is coming down pretty quick. It is pretty close to that neutral. So overall, we have quite a few bearish signs here, so I would tread carefully. Over on the 1 hour, that stochastic's overall running down. It does want to make a little bit of a rebound though, so that could help drag our RSI back up. Our RSI is getting a red dot and pushing down. It's overall in a bearish trend. Our price is trying to slightly go up as RSI and stochastic are sliding, so there's a bearish divergence. Our momentum's starting to roll over with the red dot. The VWAP's touching that neutral and wants to break through, and the money flow is getting pretty close to breaking through as well. So watch the next few candles. We may get some sort of a retracement kind of down to like maybe this 906 area and retest those levels, at which point we could see if we would bounce off or not. Usually when you get a quick move one way or the other, you'll get a corrective move the opposite way. Not always right away, but it usually comes eventually. You can see we dropped pretty quick, so this could be our corrective move, and then we could ultimately get rejected still. Our stochastic is trying to run up, our RSI is trying to push up, that VWAP is overall trending out, the money flow is trying to maintain bullish momentum, but it's not very strong. Momentum wave is coming up, so we're looking a little dicey. We're coming up to the top of this pattern, but since we kind of broke down and invalidated by coming back up, I'm going to delete it because we got a little bit of a play out, but not much. Over on the 4 hour here, we're getting a little bit of a reversal arrow. We have a gap here that could break us down. We did have this gap back here that I did warn about at that 202 area, so we did come up and fill that gap. Since that's on the 4 hour, I was saying the 4 hour had me pretty sketched out, and it's likely we could have those filled. So that's what we could end up seeing, that drop. We got that drop for that one. Fell down, got a little bit of a rebound, filled this higher gap. Now we have a lower gap. So another gap at around 2. If we don't come back down, quickly fill it and bounce, then it's likely we could break down and continue downwards still. So keep that in mind. This could be a bear flag that we're forming here as well, which if it is, we would have 3 touches to a baseline that could end up breaking us down. So I'd really exercise caution if we start to slide. VWAP is starting to roll over. Money flow's got a bearish trend with lower highs and lower lows. That momentum is coming up but starting to reject away as that VWAP's tapering off. That stochastic is pushing up pretty decently, but the RSI is starting to flatten out with a red dot, so it could start to drop down from here. Over on the 2 hour, our stochastic has a little bit of a bearish cross happening, so that could kick us down. Our RSI is starting to taper off. VWAP is falling. Our momentum is rolling away because that VWAP is getting close to that neutral. So So if it falls neutral, you know it'll break bearish, and we could see that red dot to drop us lower. Our money flow overall is rejecting away from the neutral. We didn't go bullish here, and we are starting to push away, so I would exercise caution, because unlike everything else, we pumped up without having a bullish trend. Everything else, the money flow was in a bullish trend. This kind of just went with the market. So if we look, we don't have any wicks or gaps on the hourly to fill yet. So that's positive for short term, but long term we have that 4-hour one. So again, keep that in mind. We do have a bit of a gap up yet to fill, so we could come up, fill that gap, and then see the lower gap. We'll have to kind of see. That RSI is starting to lose its strength. The stochastic is starting to lose strength. It does want to make a bullish cross, so if it can get a bullish cross and push up, it may make our RSI rebound. However, if it starts to just fall flat and spill out, it's likely we could get a sell-off from here. That VWAP is above that neutral, but not very strong. So if it breaks down here, that momentum's likely going to roll over with a red dot. That money flow is starting a bearish trend as we're getting lower highs with lower lows, and we are kind of rejecting that little bullish run-up we tried to have. Over on the daily for XRP, we got a little bit of a break up, almost got our full move, so I'm going to delete this because much like everything else, not going to see your pattern play very much more than once, at least not too reliably. As stochastic wants to run up, our RSI wants to make a run up, the VWAP is trying to push up, and the money flow is somewhat trying to curl, but it's still pretty gridlocked in the zone we've been in for quite some time. So I would exercise caution. This kind of hard might be forming a larger ascending triangle, at which point if we do, we could get another run up. However, if we kind of come back down from here, make a consistent bottom with this, then I'd bet more on a bear flag forming. Over on the 4-hour, so bear flags where you have a consistent pattern, consistent trend. Watch our patterns videos if you haven't already. That'll give you an idea of some of the basic patterns. We are coming toward this resistance. We wicked through it 3 times, so it is pretty weak at this point, but we're also not getting the strength to break through and sustain. We had a green dot that wanted to run us up, but we're starting to get an inverted hammer candle. These inverted hammer candles usually are a topping candle, as they will kick you down. Of course, we don't have any examples as of lately, but if you're not familiar with that, we do have some resources that show candle patterns, and those are in the Discord, so join that Discord link down below if you want to know what those are about. Our VWAP's rolling over, and momentum is pushing. The money flow is in a slight bearish trend though. So if we set up a lower low here, we could be set up to bring ourselves down and see lower price action. So just exercise a little bit of caution there. Over on the 2-hour, we could be setting up a bull flag here. So if that is the case, that could help break us up toward this other support resistance area. However, if it doesn't manage to sustain in these zones and push up, then it's likely we will just get a rejection, and we could do some sort of like Bart Simpson pattern that's not in the video, where it looks like his head and it's all jagged, bouncing up and down, and then you break down. But our stochastic is getting a bearish cross and starting to push down. Our RSI is starting to curl off with the red dot. The momentum is starting to roll over. The money flow is rolling over. The VWAP is coming down pretty quick and heading toward that neutral. If it breaks through, then that would likely be what could help kick us down and bring us lower. Over on the 1-hour, you kind of have that Bart Simpson where you got that jaggedness, so watch out. Stochastic's starting to push down, RSI is starting to push down. We have a double red dot on momentum, and our momentum's curling out. Our money flow did break bullish with the VWAP. Got that reversal arrow, much like Bitcoin's breakout. But we are starting to head back down toward the bearish territory, so if our money flow doesn't make a bounce and gain strong bullish momentum from here, it's very likely we could spill under and retest those 38-cent zones, so keep that in mind. Over on Algo, we're getting a pretty decent run up. I'm going to delete this. Much like everything else, not really very valid since we've invalidated it. But we do have an uptrend that could be forming here. Keep an eye on that as an uptrend. Sounds good, but they're bearish patterns that break you down. Again, see that patterns video. Stochastic wants to run up, RSI wants to push up. So we do have a little bit of strength coming there. Our VWAP is trying to push up. The money flow is trying to push up, and the momentum is starting to come up. So we do have a possibility for some strength here if we can sustain. Over on the 4 hour, our stochastic is making a push up. Our RSI is kind of tapering off, and momentum is coming out. The VWAP's overall setting up lower highs, so that's a little worrisome, as that could be a bearish trend that could set up some downwards action for us. Our money flow isn't in the bullish territory. We did try to push and break bullish, but we got rejected. Despite that, we saw our pump up. Much like Anchor, we seem to have just pumped with the market. The 2 hour, we did get kind of a flick into the bullish territory that just ran us up, but it didn't last very long. Our stochastic has a bearish divergence that wants to bring us down. It does have a bearish cross too that wants to bring us down, so two lanes that want to bring us down on the same indicator. RSI wants to taper off, our momentum wants to come out, and that VWAP is real close to that neutral, so if it breaks through, that momentum's likely going to spill over. The money flow is getting a rejection into the bearish territory, so I would exercise caution. If we set up a bearish trend, it's likely we'll see lower prices. Over on the 1 hour, our stochastic wants to make a push up, but it's looking a little dicey. Our RSI is overall trending out. Our momentum is trending out with bearish divergence. Stochastic has a bearish divergence too, and the RSI somewhat. So not very good. Money flow is starting to taper off. The VWAP is kind of flipping between the bullish and bearish territories. So I would watch the VWAP. If the VWAP can sustain some bullish strength, we could get another run up, like we've seen back here. VWAP flipped bullish, next candle, broke way up. Money flow did also bounce with it, and there were a few other things bouncing, much like Bitcoin. So that's why you want to pay attention and use this market cipher indicator. It's very powerful. Going to cover our meme coins real quick, just because we got quite a bit of run up. We are meeting resistance right around here where I've warned for Doge, so we are getting a bit of a pullback, kind of hitting this support resistance area. If we don't manage to break away from this, this could be a zone where we may get a bit of a rejection from, much like the rest of the market could. RSI is trying to push up, our stochastic's trying to push up, the VWAP is running up, but the money flow is not bullish yet. Our momentum is coming up, so we look a little alright, but that money flow is a little worrisome. This could just be another market pump like Algo and Anchor. Our momentum is coming up, stochastic's running up, our RSI is starting to roll over, the VWAP's starting to roll over, and our money flow is starting to a bearish trend, so that could break us down. Over on the 2 hour, with bearish divergence on stochastic, RSI is spilling over, stochastic has that bearish cross, our momentum's rolling over, VWAP's coming down, money flow's breaking into bearish territory, so we're very similar to our other coins so far. Our stochastic is starting to push down pretty hard, RSI is starting to drop down on the 1 hour, our momentum's getting a bearish divergence and it's starting to curl out as our VWAP is breaking into the bearish territory and pushing down. The money flow did bounce off the neutral and gain some bullish momentum, but it's overall getting lower highs, so if we curl back over and break into the bearish territory, that could set up a bearish trend that could push us away from any kind of a bull flag possibility like we would have. Over on SHIB, last but not least, we are trying to get a little bit of a pump, running into some resistance here as well. Stochastic is pushing up, That RSI is trying to push up, our VWAP is trying to push higher, and the money flow is bullish, so we look pretty decent to continue a bullish trend so far. Our momentum wants to come up, it does have a green dot, so look pretty decent on the daily. We're on the 4 hour, we have this reversal arrow followed by a green candle, so that has me a little worried for that daily possibility, because usually those don't play out too good. Stochastic wants to run up, our RSI is starting to curl off with the red dot, so it wants to lose some strength. Our momentum's starting to taper off, our VWAP is starting a bearish trend, and our money flow is struggling to get past this like 6 zone. So if we don't manage to curl back up and push through this, it's likely we could see a rejection here. Over on the 2 hour, stochastic starting to make a bearish cross, and that could push us down. We do have a bit of a bearish divergence too, as we're getting lower on stochastic, but price is heading up. Our momentum's starting to roll over. Our VWAP's got that bearish divergence and rolling down, getting close to that neutral. Our money flow is flipping into the bearish territory. So if that VWAP falls into the bearish territory with the money flow here, that could set us up for a pretty strong leg down. Over on the 1 hour, stochastic's pretty tight. Looks like it does want to spill over. Our RSI is starting to dump. Our momentum's starting to come out with bearish divergence. It has a red dot on it as well, so that's not too good. Our money flow and our VWAP are in the bearish territory here, so if we continue over the next couple candles, we could see a breakdown and retrace today's gains, which weren't too much compared to the rest of the market. Thank you for watching tonight's video. I hope you have a great night.